The medical bay doors hissed open, and Captain Marcus Webb limped inside, leaving a trail of dark blood across the pristine white floor. His uniform hung in tatters, exposing deep gashes that ran across his chest and arms. The burns on his left side still smoked faintly, filling the air with the acrid smell of seared flesh. "Get me patched up quick," Marcus said to the medical officer. "We've got maybe 2 hours before the Vorn fleet regroups." Dr. Kellen rushed over with a scanner, his face paling as he read the results. "Captain, these wounds—" "You should be dead." "The toxin levels alone—" "Yeah, well, I'm not," Marcus interrupted, gritting his teeth as another wave of pain rolled through him. "Just do what you can." What neither of them knew was that Queen Vara of the Lothian Empire stood just outside the medical bay, having arrived moments earlier for what was supposed to be a routine diplomatic inspection of the human vessel. Her 4 royal guards flanked her, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the corridor lights. The Lothians were an ancient race, elegant and refined, with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl and eyes that held the wisdom of 10,000 years. They had never known true war, not in living memory. Their conflicts were resolved through negotiation, through careful diplomacy, through the subtle dance of politics that had kept their empire peaceful for millennia. Queen Vara had heard tales of humans, of course. The newcomers to the galactic stage, who had somehow survived in the hostile Outer Rim. She found them curious. These short-lived creatures, who built their ships from crude alloys and spoke in such direct, unpolished language. She had come today to formalize a trade agreement, nothing more. But now she stood frozen outside the medical bay, watching through the transparent section of the door, as the human captain endured wounds that would have killed any Lothian 3 times over. "Your Majesty," one of her guards whispered. "Perhaps we should return another time." Vara raised one slender hand for silence. She could not look away. Dr. Kellen worked quickly, spraying synthetic skin over the worst of the burns. Marcus barely flinched, though the treatment was notoriously painful. "The delegation from Lothia is supposed to arrive today," the doctor said, trying to distract his patient. "Probably waiting in the docking bay right now." "They can wait," Marcus said through clenched teeth. "The Vorn don't care about our diplomatic schedule." The Vorn. Queen Vara knew that name. Every species in this sector knew that name. The Vorn were raiders, killers, a plague that swept through space, taking what they wanted and destroying what they could not take. Even the mighty Lothian fleet kept well away from Vorn territory. Yet here was this human, bleeding and burned, speaking of them as though they were merely an inconvenience. "Tell me what happened out there," Dr. Kellen said, stitching a particularly deep gash. Marcus laughed, a harsh sound that turned into a cough. Blood flecked his lips. "Same as always. Vorn war party jumped a colony transport. Civilian vessel, mostly families heading to the new settlements on Taurus 3. We got the distress call and responded. How many Vorn ships? 8 cruisers, maybe a dozen fighters." Marcus closed his eyes as the doctor worked on his ribs. "We had 1 destroyer and a prayer." Through the door, Queen Vara felt something cold settle in her chest. 8 cruisers. The humans had engaged 8 Vorn cruisers to protect civilians they had never met. "We couldn't take them head on," Marcus continued. "So I ordered the crew to evacuate the civilians to our ship while I took a shuttle and drew the Vorn fire. Led them on a chase through the asteroid field near Delta Station." Dr. Kellen paused in his work. "Captain, you took a shuttle against 8 cruisers?" "Someone had to." Marcus opened his eyes, and there was no pride in them, no boasting. Only a tired acceptance. Gave the destroyer enough time to get the civilians to safety and call for reinforcements. By the time the Vorn realized what was happening, they were surrounded. "And you crashed." "More like crashed through one of their cruisers," Marcus corrected. Shuttle wasn't going to make it anyway. Figured I might as well take one of them with me. Punched right through their reactor core and ejected before the explosion. The burns. The shrapnel wounds. The toxin exposure from the Vorn weapons. All of it made terrible sense now. "You're insane," Dr. Kellen muttered, but there was admiration in his voice. "I'm human," Marcus replied, as though that explained everything. Perhaps it did. Queen Vara pushed open the medical bay door before her guards could stop her. She glided into the room, her flowing robes trailing behind her like water. Both Marcus and Dr. Kellen turned in surprise. "Your Majesty," the doctor stammered, bowing quickly. "We were not expecting." "I heard everything," Vara said quietly. Her voice, usually so controlled and melodious, trembled slightly. She approached the medical table where Marcus lay, her luminous eyes taking in every wound, every burn, every place where his body had been broken in defense of strangers. Marcus tried to sit up straighter, wincing at the movement. "Ma'am, I apologize for not being present to greet you properly. As you can see, I'm a bit—" "Stop." The word came out sharper than she intended. Vara reached out with one delicate hand, hovering just above the worst of the burns on his shoulder, afraid to touch and cause more pain. "These wounds. You should have died." "Yeah, I get that a lot." She looked at his face, really looked at it, and saw something that shook her deeply. There was no expectation of reward in his eyes. No demand for recognition or praise. He had simply done what needed to be done, accepted the cost, and now he waited to heal so he could do it again. "The civilians," Vara asked. "How many did you save?" "Transport was carrying 342 souls," Marcus said. "We got all of them out. 342 lives. And this human had nearly died to ensure not one was lost." Something inside Queen Vara broke then, something she had not known could break. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling down her pearl-like cheeks. In all her centuries of life, she had never wept in front of another species. It was not done. It was not proper. But she could not stop. "Your Majesty?" Dr. Kellen looked alarmed. Vara shook her head, unable to speak. The tears came faster now, and with them came a grief she had not known she carried. Grief for every time her people had chosen safety over courage. Grief for every negotiation that had purchased peace at the cost of justice. Grief for the comfortable distance they had maintained from the suffering of others. And beneath the grief, something else. Shame. "I don't understand," Marcus said, genuine confusion in his voice. "Did I offend you somehow?" "Offend me?" Vara's voice broke. "You humble me. You shame me. You." She gestured helplessly at his wounds. "Your people have been part of the galactic community for barely 50 years. 50 years, while my people have existed for millennia. And yet, you show a courage we have forgotten. A willingness to suffer that we have bred out of ourselves." She turned to look at her guards, who stood rigid in the doorway. "We have become soft. We have become cowards. We negotiate with raiders rather than fight them. We pay tribute to avoid conflict. We tell ourselves this is wisdom, but it is fear. Only fear." "Your Majesty," one of the guards began. "No." Vara turned back to Marcus. "This human, this short-lived creature who by our measure is barely more than a child, he has shown me what we have lost. He flew alone against 8 warships to save people he did not know. And he thinks nothing of it." "I think plenty of it," Marcus said dryly. "Mainly that I should invest in better armor." Despite her tears, Vara laughed. The sound was musical and broken all at once. "You joke. Even now, lying broken and burned, you joke. What else am I going to do? Cry about it?" "Yes," Vara said fiercely. "You should cry. You should scream. You should demand recognition for your sacrifice. You should, but then who would save the next transport? Marcus interrupted gently. The Vorn don't take breaks just because I'm having feelings about things. The simple truth of it hit Vara like a physical blow. She sank into a nearby chair, her royal composure completely abandoned. The tears continued to flow, and with them came a realization that would change her empire forever. Captain Webb, she said formally, wiping at her eyes. I came here today to sign a simple trade agreement. But I see now that what my people need from humanity cannot be bought or sold. What do you need? To remember, Vara said. To remember what it means to stand when standing is hard. To fight when fighting is necessary. To sacrifice when sacrifice is required. She rose from her chair and bowed deeply, a gesture no Lothian queen had offered to an outsider in recorded history. Will you teach us? Marcus looked at Dr. Kellen, who shrugged helplessly. Then he looked back at the queen. I'm not a teacher, Your Majesty. I'm just a soldier. That, Queen Vara said, her tears finally slowing, is precisely why you are the perfect teacher. She straightened and touched her hand to her heart, the traditional Lothian gesture of deepest respect. The Lothian Empire will stand with humanity, not as distant allies in trade, but as brothers in defense of the innocent. This I swear on my crown and my ancestors. Marcus managed a tired smile. Does that mean you're going to help us with the Vorn? It means, Queen Vara said, steel entering her melodious voice, that the Vorn are about to learn what happens when an ancient empire remembers how to be dangerous. As she left the medical bay with her guards,